It's that time of year. People have gotten busy and they've gotten sad and they've gotten dark. So, we're going to talk about how to avoid getting burnt out. So, here are three tenets to avoid burnout. And this is from my perspective as a jazz musician specifically, but it can apply to everybody. So, the first tenet is to take ownership of your schedule. A lot of people, a lot of people don't even use a calendar. I've seen people who when an event comes up, they'll just try to remember it on their own. And it seems like it doesn't work well for most of these people, and it's impossible to go through life successfully like that. It's very important to have a calendar that is used often, and a lot of people don't schedule their days. So people end up procrastinating because they have work to do, but they don't have a time allotted to do it. And then it gets pushed off, and then they get overwhelmed. So the solution is to prioritize and execute. And I heard about this idea from Jocko Willink, the ex-Navy SEAL. I read one of his books, and he has some great insights. So the idea is that you take all of the tasks that you want to do and you rank them in order of importance and urgency. And then you just attack the list and you get the things done. So prioritize and execute. And the order is important here because if you just start working, maybe everything will get done, but then if it doesn't get done, the important things are the things that didn't get done because you didn't prioritize first. So that's important. I recommend scheduling your day before, not scheduling it the morning of. And the reason is because the time that we wake up is important also for the quality of our day. And if that isn't planned out the night before, then it can often end in sleeping in. So it's important to schedule the night before. The idea here is that you can create your optimal day. You can say to yourself, what things do I want to do tomorrow? What's the best possible day I could have? And then you can plan that out realistically by looking at your calendar and seeing what you have scheduled, because you're only going to have a certain amount of time. So you can fit in as much as you can ahead of time by planning it. And then it just takes some discipline to follow that schedule. And maybe you won't be able to follow it 100% and get to everything that you wanted to, but the day that you have by following that schedule, even 80% or 90% is going to be a lot better than if you didn't have that schedule at all. And you're kind of just drifting through passively. So it takes some discipline. And if you do this daily, then the sky's the limit. So that's some ways that you can take ownership of your schedule. The next tenet, conquer the resistance. There's this great book by Stephen Pressfield called The War of Art, which is obviously a play on the art of war. Another great book. So basically, this book personifies resistance and it easy to makes it easy to understand the dynamics of feeling resistance towards completing a task, specifically for artists and creative pursuits in this book. So another important thing to consider when you're trying to be productive is having rules for yourself. So these are non-negotiables. And I have 7 personal non-negotiables in addition to other rules. An example is if I'm up past midnight, I'm not going to wake up at 4:30. Normally, I always wake up at 4:30 a.m. and I get ready, I practice, and I look at my day, see what I have, and get in the right mindset. But if I'm up past midnight, for the sake of my health, I don't wake up. But I still plan it and I still calculate the amount of time that I am going to sleep optimally for my health and for my schedule. That's an example. But my 7 are cold is the first one. prayer and reading, training, working out in the gym, practice, specifically practicing saxophone for me, grounding, connecting to the earth is very important for health and also mindset. Reading for leisure. So that's separate from Bible reading. That's reading a book. And I specifically have fiction for nighttime and nonfiction for the day. But I'll probably do a whole separate video on all these. And then sun exposure. Those are my seven. So having rules like so for me, those seven non-negotiables are things that I have to have every day, always, no matter what. So having things like that for yourself can give you freedom from having to worry about getting things done because you know that you're going to get these things done no matter what because you have to. And that takes discipline, which is why I put here discipline is greater than motivation. We're not always going to be motivated. And when we are motivated, it's great, it feels great, and it makes work fun. But most of the time, we're not going to be motivated. And that's when it takes discipline to achieve what we want to achieve. And this is how you become set apart because most people really only work when they're motivated. And they don't put the work in when they're not motivated because they lack the discipline. So it's actually not extremely difficult to become successful and happy because most people that you're competing against aren't working a lot of the time when they're not motivated. So by cultivating that discipline in yourself to stick to your daily plan, you can achieve great things and also find happiness. Third tenet, don't take on too much. A lot of people say yes to everything. And they'll say yes to things that are important, which of course we should do, but they'll also say yes to things that are kind of stupid. And they'll just kind of do everything that they want on a whim, of course, without planning because they don't have a schedule. And they're not able to say no. A lot of people don't feel comfortable saying no. So it's important to learn how to say no, especially if something isn't an important opportunity for you and it's not going to be beneficial. So when you have a full schedule, especially, you have to be careful what you say yes to, and then money will be the priority. If it pays well, even if you're busy around it, then it's going to be worth it to do. A lot of people I notice when we're in conversation, we'll say like, "How are you?" And the default response has become busy for a lot of people to say, how are you? Oh, great, but busy." This is not a sustainable way to live a happy life. There's a lot more to life than just being busy all the time. And this is something that we should take ownership and control of. So there is a dichotomy here, which I noted. It's important, of course, to say yes to justifiably beneficial opportunities, especially in the beginning stages of our career or any new subcategory within our career. It's important to say yes to things, of course, but we just have to be more smart about it because people say yes to everything and then they get super busy. And that's really a reflection of them not having control of their schedule and control of their time. Some closing notes. Of course, the most important thing when you're trying not to get burnout is to get adequate rest and recovery, making sure that you sleep great every night. Sleep is a great thing to prioritize for a lot of people. A lot of people don't think about it and they'll kind of just go to bed late at night when they're tired. It's important to wind down before bed as well. I could do a more in-depth discussion on that, but it's also important to have weekly rest. So honoring the weekend is important. I have a day reserved for myself, which is Saturdays. So I won't take work on Saturday unless it's really worth it for me. And that's an important thing for me to conserve so that I am able to work hard for the rest of the week. You can notice a big difference in people who honor the weekend and those who don't. Some people just work poorly all the time and they end up not getting anything done and also feel really stressed and overwhelmed. In order to create a plan and a schedule in the first place, you have to know where you want to go and you have to set goals. And it's a good idea to set high goals, of course, aim as high as you can, and then break it down and see what you need to do each day to achieve that. But there's no sense in scheduling a day for yourself if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish in the first place. So that's something to think about and consider first. I recommend prioritizing training, even if you have some craft that you're trying to hone. For me, it's the saxophone and music. If at the end of the day, if if it's like 8 p.m. and I'm trying to get to bed and I haven't worked out or shedded, which doesn't happen because I plan it, but if that didn't happen, I would probably get a quick workout in. Maybe I get a quick workout in and shed, but I wouldn't just shed and not work out. I've had the most gains in my music when I'm prioritizing my health. And part of that's probably just because I feel great and I have more energy to practice and I think more clearly. So that's a great thing. And also you only get one body and health is really the most important thing. If you're really successful but you're gonna die super early, then what's the point, you know? So that's an important priority. Another idea here is a lot of people when they're thinking about self-improvement and bettering their life, they think about all these things to add. They think they want to add a cold shower, they want to add waking up early, they want to add being in nature every day, getting the sun and the earth connection. But that can be a problematic way of thinking about it, and it can lead to stress and being overwhelmed. I like to think about it as eliminating things that are unnecessary. So scrolling on social media passively in a way that is bad for your brain and bad for society is, of course, is not going to be beneficial. Things to prioritize are work, love, and health. Love can be family as well. And if you only act within these three domains, then you're gonna only be working on the things that you need to be working on. And you're gonna cut out all the stuff that you shouldn't be giving your time. So these are some thoughts about how to avoid burnout. It's most important to take control and ownership of your time because that's what leads to people being burnt out a lot of the time. It seems like they're working really hard, but in reality, they just haven't taken control of their time in the first place and allowed themselves enough time to rest. So, yeah, take care of yourself. Thanks for watching.